I am magnificent. I am special and unique, beautiful and dynamic, so I will be the best that I can be. No matter what people say, I will make it all the way because I am magnificent. I, along with every elementary student at Montgomery Elementary in Houston, Texas, on the southwest side, said this poem after the Pledge of Allegiance to affirm ourselves. It was my way of putting on my cape for that day and making sure that I would be great. And with this cape, I carried with me my grandmother's reminder to make excellence a habit. Today, I still walk in that excellence, but I'm still learning how to live through all the discomforts and all the tensions and all those silly things that happen in life, the things that are unplanned. So I want to ask you, when was your last failure? When was the last time that silly thing happened that you didn't really mean to have happen? You know what it is. You know what it is. From this talk today, I'm going to share with you a very personal and vulnerable story about a time where I had to face my fear of failure and also some silly things from my childhood that, coupled with my mom's love and her compassion and her understanding, they got me to where I am now. Through this talk, I want you to do two things. I want you to find power in all these intense moments that we experience and really understand that they happen for our best good. And then also to appreciate these experiences, understanding that they intertwine to create this beautifully ornate, dynamic tapestry that we call life. So I'm Dr. Yvette, and I am far from the little girl in the 4th grade with the big round glasses on her eyes. I'm now a woman with PhD behind my name. But I didn't intentionally slow this process down, but I didn't finish my program the way it started. You see, on my graduation day, my family arrived. I had my cap and gown in hand. I had my makeup on. My nails were done. My hair was curled. And they were there to celebrate. But I had been keeping a secret. You see, after 3 years and nearly 9 semesters in my doctoral program and successfully passing my comprehensive exam, I received a letter in a tiny white envelope. And on that letter, I was instructed to consider a different doctoral program. I was devastated. How was this happening to me? I was on my way to being the first PhD in my family on both sides. It was the longest 15 weeks of my life. I took a semester off. And if you can imagine, I avoided all phone calls about how was your day, how was class, what did you do today? I avoided those calls. I was between wavering on whether or not I should quit or if I should return. But as you can see, I returned, I bossed up, and I finished. And my family didn't know until graduation day. See, they had purchased this oversized cookie cake, and it was good, y'all. It had the buttercream icing across the top, and it said, "Congratulations, Dr. Yvette." And we cut that cake, and I confessed. I confessed that a 4-year program turned into 5 years for me. Not because I wanted it to, but because I had no choice. And so I remember very vividly the shock on their faces. But equally memorable was the reassurance in their eyes that they were happy that I was very resilient. And I took those 2 years from the lowest point of my life to the triumphant moment that they were in at that very time. So that was my first life-changing failure, and this is my first time talking about it publicly. You see, I couldn't appreciate the stretching of that time at that time. Yes, had I finished in 4 years, I'd still have my doctoral degree. But the way that I feel about it now, after having obtained it, after having been stretched, after having those tense moments and facing my fear of failure, no one can take that away from me. So I told y'all there were some silly things. Now, that was a picture of the cookie cake. There were some silly things that happened. Let's go back to 4th and 5th grade, where I attended Montgomery Elementary, and that's where we affirmed ourselves with that I am magnificent speech. And my mom happened to teach kindergarten at that school. I loved it there, actually. I was friends with all the janitorial staff, all the office staff. I was collecting friends by the day to play with me in her classroom before and after school. You know, people say that preachers' kids have it bad. I say that teachers' kids have it worse. I was there early and I stayed late. But what I loved about Montgomery was that I had transferred from a school where I might have been one of 2 Black kids in the classroom to a school where my classmates and my teacher, Miss Harden, looked just like me. Now, don't be fooled by her expression. Miss Harden was cool. She was firm, but very cool. And I felt like I was transitioning well until I made it to 5th grade, and Miss Francois, my teacher then, had something to say. Here's what she had to say, and this is a look at my 1993 summer report card. The front was a very standard page, and then there's this back page where Miss Francois took the liberty of writing a special note to my family, to my teacher, Mom. And she said, "You will need to sometimes encourage and even demand that Yvette does more than average. She will sometimes be satisfied with average, yet she has the ability and the creativity to do more than average." And then Miss Francois wrote a note to me. And she said, "Don't be content with being average because average is as close to the bottom as it is to the top." Me, average? Oh, I'm in the 5th grade. But let's make matters worse. I go to 6th grade, and my teacher there begins to say, "Yvette seems to be out to lunch a little bit. Out to lunch." So my mom, who's an educator, she obviously applied some love, some compassion, and some consequences. But what we can say now is that things turned out okay. We can laugh and say, maybe I should take Miss B to lunch. Maybe I should take her out to lunch, right? You know, it's one of those things where a teacher can tell a parent what's happening, but how does this parent really receive it? I wondered, could she have been embarrassed in those moments? Or did she show me love, compassion, understanding, resiliency, the things that I exuded 20 years later in my doctoral program? And obviously, consequences. So here's my mother, and guess what? Recently, she sent me this text within the last year, and she's referencing Mrs. Francois' comment about my being average. And she says she's so proud of me. I went on to high school. I was very popular. I participated in academic programs, athletic teams. Went on to college. I was a leader there, so things turned out all right. Those teacher comments from 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, they seem kind of silly now. The funny thing is that now I'm an educator. I get to now teach college students in their most silliest times of their lives, right? Through the most silliest times of their lives. I get to enforce and show them the things that I've done and show them how far I've come and show them the resiliency. So everything has come full circle. These are my teacher evaluations, and I'd have to say, they're pretty off the chart. But would I have made it here without the resiliency or the DNA that was infused in me as a child? Here's another slide. Thanks for being a great teacher. But here's the thing. In life, we know that tension, it produces something. And in me, it produced a result. So in life, there are these lines. And they're curved lines, and then there are straight lines. Some are continuous, and then some end abruptly. And that's essentially the principle of creating good tapestry. And the components of a good tapestry are the warp, the weft, and then also tension. So the warp within tapestry is the framework and the basis of it, such that this is the continuous thread. It's the strongest thread. It cannot really be torn or messed with. We're gonna count that as, in your life, the core of who you are, your DNA. And I'm gonna say that within my DNA lives resiliency. Within your DNA lives resiliency. The fact that you are here today is proof that you were able to overcome whatever was pressed upon you. So that's the warp, right? It's important, it's necessary. I can even say that my grandmother, the late Alice Wright Dowse, when she and her husband, my grandfather, Marion Dowse, moved to Killeen, Texas, could they have imagined that their name would be on 2 buildings 15 minutes away from where we're sitting right now? Could they have imagined that? Maybe they did, but what I know is what was in her DNA resides in me. So the composition of tapestry includes a very strong foundation, just like the core of who you are. Now the wefts are very different. The wefts are the silly things. These are the discontinuous threads, the raveled pieces, the pieces that you might cut if you see hanging up or hanging off of a cloth. But they also serve a purpose. They're there for a reason. They hold the cloth together, so we have to experience them. And good tapestry has both. The tension that is caused by the strong threads and the weaker wefts creates the final product. But the final product isn't created without having this tension and stretch. And if you've worked out in any capacity, you know that stretching is pretty imperative, right? You can stretch before your workout, you can stretch after, but the idea is to be able to stretch longer and harder the next time and to show some type of progress. So if you stretch, then you increase your flexibility. If you stretch, then you enhance your performance. If you stretch today, then tomorrow, we're thinking that you can stretch in and lean a little deeper. The end result is that the muscles that you're working can also work a little harder, and they can handle the heavy weight. So in this life of tapestry, this beautiful life of tapestry that you're creating, it's going to require stretching. You have to appreciate the strong threads, which is the warp. You have to appreciate the weaker threads, which are the wefts, and understand that the tension is really what produces results. So I want to close by saying that we are magnificent, we are special and unique, beautiful and dynamic, so we will all be the best that we can be. No matter what people say, we all can make it because we are magnificent. And with this, I'll say that little Yvette was instilling in Dr. Yvette the ability to lean into those tense moments. The younger version of you knows now how to be excellent when the moments are tough, when you need to survive and be stretched. And lastly, but certainly not least, expect the silly things and appreciate them for the beautiful tapestry that they provide to your life. I'm Dr. Yvette, and thank you.